Today, we're diving into something pretty wild, an explosive claim coming right from the top of the Russian government. The accusation that the United States has a secret plan, a plan to use crypto to solve its gigantic national debt problem. $37 trillion. Just try to wrap your head around that number. That is the staggering size of the US national debt. And that number right there is at the very center of an incredible international accusation we are about to unpack. And here it is. This is the bombshell, and it comes straight from Anton Kobyakov, a senior advisor to Vladimir Putin. He's basically saying the US is cooking up a crypto reset, a plan to shift its debt into stablecoins and then, poof, devalue it, leaving everyone else holding the bag. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but let's actually break down if it could really happen. So, to really get this, we have to start at the beginning. Who is actually making this $37 trillion accusation? The guy behind this quote, Anton Kobyakov, well, he's not just some random blogger. He has been a senior advisor to Russia's president for over 10 years. It's his job to shape Russia's message on the world stage. So when he says something like this, it carries some serious weight.
Okay, so now we know who's making the claim, but how would this even be possible? Before we can get to the crypto part, we need to understand a very, very old trick in the economic playbook, the art of devaluing your own debt. Now, here's the key thing to understand. Devaluing debt isn't about defaulting. It's not refusing to pay. It means you pay back your loans, but with money that's worth a lot less than when you first borrowed it. So you're technically settling your debt, but you're doing it with cheaper money. Let's make this super simple. Imagine the entire world's economy is worth just $100, and I borrow all of it from you. But I've got a superpower, a money printer. So I fire it up and print another $100. Now there's $200 floating around, but the same amount of stuff to buy. What happens? Prices for everything double. Then I come back and pay you your original $100. It looks like I paid you in full, right? But in reality, that money now only buys half of what it used to. I've successfully devalued my debt to you. And you know what? This is not a new idea. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book, and the US has used it for decades. It happened after World War II to deal with all that war debt. It happened in the high inflation 70s, and we just saw it again after the pandemic, when a huge flood of new money made asset prices go through the roof.
Okay, so we've got the classic playbook down, but this is where the modern twist comes in. How could something like crypto, specifically stablecoins, take this old strategy and just crank it up to a global scale?
So what makes the crypto method such a game changer? Well, traditionally, the pain of inflation, higher prices at the grocery store, higher interest rates, that's all felt at home. And that leads to political problems. But with a stablecoin strategy, you can export that pain. The burden gets shared by anyone, anywhere in the world who holds that digital asset. Plus, since private companies can issue these coins, the government gets this nice little layer of deniability.
So how does this actually work? It's pretty clever. The big stablecoins like Tether and USDC are backed by assets. And a huge chunk of those assets are short-term US government debt. We call them treasuries. So what does that mean? It means every single time somebody in, say, Argentina or Nigeria buys and holds stablecoins, they are indirectly helping to finance the US government. They become part of the US debt market, and they end up sharing the loss when the dollar gets inflated.
Okay. This brings us to a really important question. How would a plan like this even be put into action? The theory suggests there isn't just one way to do it. There are two potential paths. One is loud and aggressive. The other is much quieter. So on one side, you've got what's called this Saylor plan. This was a real proposal from MicroStrategy's CEO. The idea? The US government sells all its gold to buy Bitcoin, crashing the gold market to hurt its rivals. It's bold, aggressive, super high risk. But then there's the private angle. In this version, the government doesn't buy any crypto. It lets private companies like MicroStrategy do all the heavy lifting first. Then, once the asset is big enough to matter, the government can just step in to regulate or even take a piece of the action. It's subtle, it's deniable, and it's way less likely to freak everybody out. So you can imagine, the rest of the world isn't just sitting back and watching this unfold. There's a growing skepticism about all of this, and honestly, we're already seeing the signs of some major global distrust. You want to see the proof? Just follow the money. Look at what central banks around the world are doing. They are buying physical gold like crazy at a record pace, and at the exact same time, their holdings of US government debt are either flat or going down. They are literally voting with their wallets. So why are they so worried? It all comes down to one word: trust. or really a lack of it. Foreign governments can't really audit the reserves behind these stablecoins. They just have to trust US-based companies. And history gives them a really good reason to be skeptical. Back in 1971, President Nixon just unilaterally broke the dollar's promise to be backed by gold. So from the world's point of view, what's to stop the US from just changing the rules of the game again, but this time with stablecoins?
Which brings us to our final multi-trillion-dollar question. This isn't just some wild theory from a rival country anymore. When you look at the mechanics, the history, and the quiet moves already happening in the private sector, you have to wonder, is some version of this crypto-driven debt reset not just possible, but maybe inevitable? And that's the powerful idea we'll leave you with.